Hello everybody, it's Skyler again. Today we're going to be continuing the series where we critique the official mapping from the game Beat Saber. Today's a very special day. We will be trying out the Monstercat Music Pack Volume 1. Volume 1, hopefully there's Volume 2 in the future because Monstercat as a label does put out a lot of good music that I think fits the tone of Beat Saber really well. There was a little bit of controversy with this pack, just like the Imagine Dragons one, in the fact that this was the first paid DLC ever for Beat Saber at $12, I believe, US dollars. It was originally supposed to be 10, but ended up at 12. Not a huge deal, in my opinion. I know a lot of people were upset that this was paid, especially because this game was still in early access by the time it came out, and a lot of developers take advantage of that. Early access games having paid content within the game before it's even released fully. But Beat Games, as an indie developer, I really feel like they're not taking advantage of us because they are already in VR. This is a VR game, so it's already a niche space, and I think by buying this, you can help support them. And a lot of these songs from the Monstercat Music Pack are already downloadable for free from the website beatsaber.com. And Beat Games themselves have not taken any measures to stop people from publishing any of these maps on Beat Saber, but they have noted one exception, and that's if you do one-to-one maps of any of these and then upload them to Beat Saber. I do not endorse piracy at all. But you can get We Won't Be Alone, you can get Overkill, you can get a lot of different versions of Overkill, and you can get, I believe, Feeling Stronger. I know you can get all three of those from beatsaber.com. Not these versions, mind you, but different versions. So if you do enjoy these songs, you can get those for free. You don't have to pay for this. So today we won't really have to talk about note jump speed as much. All of these songs are at 16 note jump speed, NJS. That's the abbreviation. Basically, note jump speed, the speed at which the notes approach you. If you haven't seen the previous videos, all of these are at 16. And it works for the most part with the exception of maybe Overkill and Feeling Stronger. So we pretty much won't have to talk about NJS too much today, except for when we get to those two songs. Without further ado, let's get straight into the first song of the pack, Boundless. Ooh, okay, first thing. Those inward-facing notes on the outer edges, I feel like that's a mapping practice that hasn't really aged well. Back when this came out, I believe it was March. And that inward slash is something that a lot of the top mappers still do, but you don't see a lot of that. I don't think you see it at all in Imagine Dragons or in the Camellia update, so I'm glad they made note of that, but I believe the inward slashes on the outer edges haven't aged well. There's a couple of that throughout the songs, but this is the first one, and it kind of irks me. That was a bit of a stretch. I feel like the rhythm was kind of weird there. Like it could have been mapped more. And my brain was subconsciously wanting to slash to more beats, but they weren't mapped. Well, that's different. It's not bad at all. I kind of like it actually, that triple. Yeah, those inward ones haven't aged well, but to the sound it was mapped to, I think it was done a little bit more justice, because it is a weird sound in the song, so maybe you can do weird stuff like that just then. And also, if you haven't noticed, this one also does have a special environment just for the song pack. It's kind of like the KDA environment in the fact that there's like rails of lasers above you. More mirrored patterns. More mirrored patterns. That's an interesting pattern right there. I think it's pretty fitting. And it kind of just ends like a whimper like that. In my opinion, the Expert Plus map was pretty good. But after coming from Imagine Dragons and the Camellia songs, it's super, super lacking at an Expert Plus level. When this came out in March, I think that was the perfect time to have maps like these come out. But I believe that the mapping for maps like Boundless and Epic, as you'll see, would have been much better suited to when they did the Expert Plus update for OST Volume 1. That's another story in of itself. But because that mapping was kind of lacking at the Expert Plus level, Expert suffers a lot from it. Same with Epic and a couple other songs in here. I think that Expert Plus could have been mapped a lot more interesting patterns. Think of What the Cat. You could have done a lot more interesting stuff like that for the song. Overall, still not bad. Really good map. A lot of newer players just getting in Expert Plus will enjoy that map. But once you get to the higher level, it's not really enjoyable. The song itself is pretty good, but it's not amazing. Why play Boundless when you can play one of the Camellia songs? They're much more interesting. They're much more fun at the competitive level. This map doesn't really bring anything special to the table. I know we are kind of going in a time warp by doing everything backwards, but I think that's the most interesting way to look at these maps is from the newest to the oldest ones. But yeah, pretty good map. Nothing amazing though. Next song, Emoji VIP. Already taking some mapping liberties by starting with an up note. I kind of wish more people would do that. Everyone seems to think you have to start patterns with a down, but you don't. In fact, you could start one hand with a down and one with an up if you wanted to. Those inward notes were a lot more palpable than the ones in Boundless. When they did that crossover about 10 seconds ago, it was pretty clever how they forced you to continue to use the red saber as your arm was crossed over so they don't smack each other. Now those inward notes, because they're continuing to use them, it becomes a motif like I've explained in the past videos. A motif is basically when you take a core pattern and repeat it throughout the course of the song, so it helps you remember the style of the mapping. It gives everything a unique feel. And because music by nature is repetitive, repeating those motifs makes the song much more memorable and more choreographed in terms of the motion. I really love that pattern with the music. How it makes you slide. Big step up from Boundless. Much more satisfying mapping. I said we weren't going to talk about note jump speed very much, but I believe that song had better values for the note jump speed in my opinion. And the reason for that is because the BPM on this, 163 as opposed to 170, essentially that means the notes are going to spawn closer to you on Emoji VIP, because this is using 16 note jump speed plus 1 offset, and this will as well. So the notes spawn closer to you in Emoji VIP, easier to keep up with the notes, the rhythm, better mapping too, more memorable, more fun, funner song as well. Just a better map overall than Boundless was. Now let's get on with Epic. I don't know what just happened there. Whoa. Sorry about that. I just fell asleep. Not really a fan of this song. Not sure why they decided to put this song in Beat Saber. It does not match Beat Saber at all. Again, those were not vision notes, even though they were in my face. It was at the end of a measure. Also, that crossover on the left, that's a pattern I would like to see used more. Just because a pattern looks ugly does not mean you shouldn't use it. If it feels good, you should use it. Nothing about this mapping is offensive at all. There's really nothing to complain about. Other than there's not really any motifs. It was nice to see a precision bomb right then though. You don't see a lot of precision bombs these days. From the official mapping or custom mapping. Again, that weird crossover, some will call it ugly, I call it unique. Again, not vision notes, I could see them coming on the left. Inward notes, yuck. I really like how it said switch it up, it did the inverted notes. If you've ever played the custom map Switch by Sting Me, it does that basically the same thing but to a greater effect. And you'll also see that in the Overkill map as well. It's super interesting. That kind of was a vision note, that red note on the left earlier. Again, not a fan of the mapping, but it was also overall pretty safe with a couple of exceptions. It almost felt like a standard expert level at a lot of parts. There was just a couple of things that could be considered expert plus. Maybe that's why I was given the label. Maybe they decided not to do super crazy mapping coming from OST Volume 1. Again, another story for another video. So far, all the mapping has been solid, not very... I don't see a lot of people who would complain about the mapping, other than it's kind of stale by today's standards. It's still pretty fun. I do not enjoy the song Epic, at least for Beat Saber, because when I'm playing Beat Saber, I want to feel something, and Epic doesn't really make you feel anything, at least for me. So let's move on to Feeling Stronger, which I think is a candidate for a higher note jump speed value than the rest of the songs, especially the expert map. The expert map definitely needs higher than 12 note jump speed. All of the values for all of these songs are in this order: 10, 10, 10, 12, 16. Feeling Stronger needs a boost, at least for expert. But we're going to be playing just the expert plus maps for today, because I feel like most of the attention that mappers put into songs are for expert plus, and that was certainly the case for Monstercat. Expert maps suffered a lot because of the way expert plus was mapped. They took a lot more care with the Camellia songs, and to a lesser extent Imagine Dragons. But we're gonna go ahead and do Feeling Stronger. By the way, there's Feeling Stronger and also Stronger. Do not get those two confused.
Wasting time on my own. All the places that we go.
I feel a little bit of Yaser right there, don't you? By the way, we should probably talk about the mappers. So when this came out, there wasn't just 2 mappers. I think there was 3 mappers, 4. And this is why I think the note jump speed should be higher. Just because of that section. I think they should bump it up to 18. But 16 does still work. Actually, I kind of want to play that section again. I feel like there was a controller smasher in there. Oh, not really. With a little bit of self-preservation, it's not a controller smasher. It's not obnoxious. I feel like when they mapped that section, they weren't really paying attention to how your hands were crossing just then, the notes I missed. I feel like the Saber paths were intersecting, causing me to miss the note. The mapping to that bridge was pretty good. And again, Yaser patterns. Not sure if Yaser mapped this. The only song I know who the mapper was Overkill was Freak. I can only guess everything else. Oops, pause the game. Let's go back. I want to redo that left-hand stream anyway. So think about left-handed streams. A lot of the top players can't even do them. I can do them just fine. I can barely tell the difference at this point. because I've went out of my way to map left-handed streams, so I've had practice with them. I'm not even a super skilled player either. That double up reset was a little obnoxious, as was that one, but that's been throughout a couple of times in the map so far. That one just felt more pronounced for whatever reason. Alright, the first map, in my opinion, that is very deserving of the Expert Plus label. Actually, I think I meant to say stronger versus feeling stronger is the map that needs higher note jump speed. Even though I could make a case for saying that was 18, I believe I was referring to this one. I told you guys not to get them mixed up. I think I got them mixed up. Yeah, it was this one. Yeah, it was that one. This one is the one that needs 18 note jump speed. This one could use it, but it doesn't need it. This one needs it. Alright, next song is super interesting to talk about. So, as many of you know, Overkill was a super big map long time ago, back in November of last year, just about 6 months after Beat Saber came out. A mapper named Cry mapped it. Map overall was really fun, especially at the time. Big challenge for people. Mapping reflected the song pretty well, and then out of the blue comes Nuke Time, and then he maps it. And people like that one even better, even though it didn't represent the music as well. People liked it just for basically the choruses / drops in the song. He mapped them super intense, and they were super fun because they weren't actually that hard. It was intense, but it wasn't super difficult to make your way through it. And it became a huge sensation in the Beat Saber modding community. Everyone loves that song. Everyone's mapped it. I've mapped it. Now it's in Monstercat. In fact, I've mapped it 3 times. Cumsock has mapped it 4 times. Hopefully one day I can take the crown from Cumsock. Hopefully I can map Overkill 4 times as well. But when this was mapped, a lot of people were super upset. They're like, how dare you map Overkill? How dare you? For good reason. Nuke Times was super good. In my opinion, this is also really good. People just have their preferences. I think that this Overkill is the most accurately mapped. However, there's a lot of issues with Nuke Time's map that a lot of people do not address, especially the fact I don't think he maps he doesn't map 3/4 time signature at all in Nuke Time's Overkill, even though this song utilizes it a ton in the drumming. So this song heavily utilizes the drums, and drummers alternate between 4/4 and 3/4 a ton. And Nuke Time just kind of used 4/4 throughout the whole song. And this song uses it a lot better. At least this map does. And Freak did this one, as you know. There's a lot of stuff we could talk about, like note jump speed. This song needs higher note jump speed. 16 and 1 works. It does work. But there are specific sections where it could super benefit from having 19 note jump speed and 0.25 offset. And the expert map is even a worse offender. It uses 12 note jump speed. Needs to be higher. If we might even just look at the expert map just to show you what I mean. But this is also another map that kind of suffers from the expert map not being nearly as fun as Expert Plus, but it's not because like Boundless, Emoji VIP, and Epic being kind of undermapped for Expert Plus, because Expert Plus on Overkill is actually very fitting of the title Expert Plus. It's a lot of other reasons why the expert on this isn't very satisfying, but we're going to do Expert Plus, and we're going to talk a lot about the patterns in this because I think a lot of them are worth talking about. So let's get into it. Oh, super disappointing. You mapped Overkill. You put no bombs in it. That is super sad to see. You could have done so much with bombs in this map. and it's sad to see that there are no bombs, but I could also see why you didn't put bombs, because a lot of people hate them. A lot of people hate bombs. If you put a bomb in your map, just a single bomb, you'll get a downvote based solely on that. But the developers were kind enough to put a no obstacles and no bombs option in the game. So if you don't like walls, you turn on no obstacles. If you don't like bombs, you turn on no bombs. It's as easy as that. So there's really no excuse at this point to put no bombs in a song like Overkill. Anyway, let's get into it. So first thing you'll notice is that they shorten the song by a lot. A lot of people will enjoy the audio edits because it makes the song shorter, because the original song is over 5 minutes long. And some people won't like the audio edits. Some people will not enjoy them because it's quote unquote not true to the song. It just depends on your tastes. I might have to focus just a little bit. Some people call those gallops, but it's really not a big issue in this mapping. Oh, Saber tracking. Alright, first thing I want to talk about was that section back there. A lot of people get tripped up on that. A lot of people get tripped up on the section coming a lot further in the song. I have no issues with the drop later on, but that rhythm back there messed with me the first couple of times I played the song. In fact, I don't usually fail the Expert Plus maps from the official mapping the first time I played it. I believe this was the first Expert Plus map, with the exception of, I think, Country Rounds Expert Plus. This was the first one besides Country Rounds that I failed on the first playthrough. And it was because of that rhythm back there. It kind of caught me off guard. Basically what happened is, I think the rhythm is 4/4, but right at the end it kind of switches up. I'm not sure if it's 3/3 or what at the end, or if it's just skipping every other beat. But the ending of that kind of messed with me. I think that rhythm would be much easier to keep up with at 19 note jump speed and 0.25 offset. I have played it at those values, and it's significantly easier for at least me to play that section back there with those values. So that's one of the reasons I recommend that this song gets a higher note jump speed value. And also further on, there's going to be a ton of doubles every half beat, and they're really close together. Alright, first amazing pattern this is genius. Those crossovers, those inverted doubles are genius. Super fun, and I love, and this too. Just all of that back there was genius. Actually, we're gonna play that again. This is amazing. This is super clever. The way that was mapped. This too, coming up here. So basically, those doubles, those super wide doubles where your arms are crossed like this. Let's play that in slow-mo so I can show you how it's doing that. We'll keep going a little further. Oops. Let's give it another shot. Alright, now we're going to slow it down so we can better show you what's going on here. It's that blue note that makes this pattern become possible. And this might be nitpicking a little bit, even though that blue does make it possible to work. There's a better way. Basically, the way that blue makes it possible is it's putting your right hand above And because your right hand's above, when you come down, you can cross it over like that. So your arms can cross. You can't see my arms in real life, but hopefully you get the point. Blue arm up and then down. In a perfect world, to make that pattern feel a lot less jarring to a lot of people are going to like it just because it looks super cool when it spawns in. You can make it play better with one little quick thing. So you had the blue arm on top for that. Now if we uncross our arms, we would do the blue arm first and then the red. And what that means is if you did this pattern, blue coming up angled like that, and then the red coming up at an angle like that, you could do this a lot easier and a lot quicker. It would be less jarring to people. So diagonal up, down, 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 up. The issue with using that is you would have to change the rhythm a little bit back there. You would have to remap some of that stuff in order to make this work. Because when Freak did the blue up, that was a double 2. So he have to remap a little bit of the rhythm to get that to work. But if you want to make people happier about seeing this, you would do that. So blue angle up, red angle up, and then that pattern. But yeah, super cool, super interesting. Glad he did it. Because you don't see that pattern at all. Some would say for good reason, but I think it's important to note stuff like that. So first audio edit, our big one. Also, I'm sorry, but I gotta stop at just like every little thing to show you some cool stuff that is done with this mapping. All right, so you're gonna see these are just down ups, but every once in a while there's a down that's one row higher than all the rest, and I think it's on every other beat, so it helps signify the big, the kick drum. Like bam, you need extra force on that because it's higher. You have to snap your hand back quicker. Just another smart thing done with the map. Yep, see? Another interesting pattern right here. This is interesting, but I don't think it's the best thing you could have done for that. One thing I am noticing is a lot of the time when there are crossovers, the blue hand is on the bottom. That should have been an angle back here. I'll point it out. It's gonna be, yeah, that right there. On the red Saber. Just try to slow it down. So that works at 50% speed, but at 100% speed, that was ridiculous. That straight left, like that, going, you would have to twirl your hand into the down to get, 115 on each block. Let's do it just one more time so I can illustrate. I don't really see a reason that red could not have transitioned into the top row with an angle instead. I don't see any cause for Saber clashing. Just one more check. Yeah, there's literally no reason that should not have been in the top row. It would not have caused any clashing of any kind. It would have been a lot easier of a transition too, especially if you play this on faster song. That specific red note would be a huge issue on faster song. But let's continue because there's still a lot more song to go. I think I felt a reset there, but I feel like I'm stopping enough during this mapping that I don't want to go back and check. Yeah, I felt like something was weird with the audio there. Another thing, that countdown where the sabers come up, I felt like that was super awkward too and not fitting to the lyrics. Countdown, I feel like you should slash like that really hard or down, straight angles. I don't see the ups in those lyrics right there. They're super intense, so it has to be a hard hit. So sideways or down, I think would have been better. So this is the part that a lot of people fail on, but it does not give me any issues. There was a reset there, by the way. And these notes are super close together, super close. Wait a second. I think those were mapped correctly. Yeah. Wait a second. I think we found something to talk about. Alright, so in Nuke Times Overkill, his final notes are, he just has 3 notes, I believe. The song right at the end is actually 4 notes. I believe they're mapped. They're supposed to be 1/6 each. Let's get a better look at that just to see, because those looked like, those could have been 2 singles and then a double, but it looked like there was 4 individual notes. So let's try to get a better look at that. Yeah, those were 4 individual notes. So glad to see that Freak picked up on the rhythm there. It was not actually 3 notes at 1/4, like Cry, did Cry map those? I don't remember. I haven't played Cry's Overkill in a long time, but Nuke Times for sure. He mapped just 3 notes at the end. They're supposed to be 4. Glad to see he did that. But I don't think he mapped those at 1/6. I think he mapped those at 1/8 or 1/12 or something, because I had that at 25 note jump speed just then, and they still look super close together. Anyway, pretty good map. A lot of interesting stuff up there. Sadly, a lot of people hate this map. They just hate it because Nuke Times is awesome. This map is also awesome as well in its own right. They're just different. And a lot of people prefer straight up fun versus the experiments in this map. While these experiments do work, they could be polished more. Overall, this map could be polished more. I think that's a big issue with it. Note jump speed as well. So Nuke Time's original Overkill map was at 17 note jump speed and 0 offset. They spawned super close in and it felt super fast. This is 16 and 1. 16 and 1 is a pretty decent value for 174 BPM. But if you really wanted people to like this map a whole lot more, you would do 19 note jump speed and 0.25 offset. It would feel pretty fast at those settings, but also comfortable and doable. And it would make the drop right at the end of the song, where there's a ton of doubles, it would space those out a lot more and make it a lot easier for tons of people to read. It was doable for me because I trust the mapping in this. So if I see how it starts with the downs, I know that the next note is going to be ups. And if I see the colors, I'm going to know where to put the sabers. And the walls in those sections made it a lot more intense, harder to read, but totally manageable. The big issue for a lot of people is right at the drop, there's a double down. I believe it's spaced exactly just a beat apart. That's going to mess with people. And I think that's why another reason why people fail that section right at the end is because they see the down. They think the next note's going to be up, but they're not reading it fast enough. It's a down and then another down. I don't necessarily agree with the double down there. It's not super awful, except for that it makes people fail. It's kind of douchey. It's a douchey move on the mapper's part, but with a song like Overkill, you could afford to be douchey. It's super intense song. It's really aggressive, like it almost wants you to fail the map. So there are reasons to put douchey moves, as I deem them, in maps like Overkill, because it is such an aggressive song. It's like you're fighting it. It's like a boss, in a way. Still a really good song. I kind of want to look at Expert, because when I remember playing the Expert map for the first time, I saw someone on Reddit saying, Expert Plus sucks, but Expert is so fun, it's so dancey, and then I played it and I was like, God, this is awful. And I think I remember it being awful because there's a very light single sabering in it, but because the BPM is 174 and the note jump speed is 12, they were super close together and it did not feel fun at all. So let's relive that memory together. Yeah, it feels super slow. These don't really feel mapped to anything in particular at the intro. Yeah, look at that. Look how ridiculous that is. Look how close these notes are to each other. And this isn't not really dancey, like I was told. This one actually has bombs at least. Just nothing really redeeming in that mapping other than it's relatively safe. I'm not going to make you sit through this because this video is already going to be pretty long, but you get the point. Note jump speed for experts should be 14, at least. Those doubles you just saw there, well, not doubles with both sabers, but the single sabering parts where it's blue down, same with the red, they were just so close together. It was really obnoxious and weird to see that. Should be 14 note jump speed, not sure the offset. Probably 14 plus 0.25, because I believe the BPM for 170 for the note jump speed, the spawn distance halves at 13, I think. Anyway, Rattlesnake is next. I think those inverted doubles in the top row are kind of awkward by today's standards. You can make them work, but I don't necessarily like them. The intro to this song is badass, by the way. Another double you would not see a lot of mappers use on principle, but it works. Doubles, I don't really see why those doubles should be double directionals. It doesn't really fit the music. Super interesting, kind of reminds me of Country Rounds. The pattern on the Expert Plus of Country Rounds, that pattern just then kind of reminds me of that, but it works 10 times better in this map. And when we get to Country Rounds, I'm going to explain why that specific pattern does not work in that song. Also, super cool drop. That was an interesting wall formation just then. Kind of wish they did that a little bit more in other maps. Also, again, not vision notes. Some people are just quick to jump to the idea that they're vision notes just because they're in the middle lanes. But they weren't obscuring my vision from any notes. Double ups, but they felt pretty good actually. Again, not sure why they're doing those two doubles that are going out, those double directionals. I feel like those doubles just then should have been inverted actually. I feel like that would have been more comfortable. There's a lot of places I could have stopped to just point out really small nitpicks that I think could have made the map better, but that one stuck out a little bit. Because I feel like a lot of people would have missed that double down. But if you had inverted them like this, or even better, invert the double down and make them dots, and then people will 100% hit those like every time. The reason I'm not going to stop a ton for this song is because the mapping is pretty solid. Lots of interesting ideas in it. Again, feels a little bit like Country Rounds. A little bit awkward. Pretty good mapping, lots of cool ideas in it. Some parts a little awkward, too awkward. In my opinion, could be improved just a little bit, but pretty fresh compared to Boundless and Epic. Boundless and Epic just didn't really contribute much in terms of ideas. Those are just like safe maps. They're just safe. Everyone's gonna like them, but they're nothing special. Rattlesnake had a little bit of special to it in Expert Plus. Good map. Just small nitpicks again. I have small nitpicks with just about every map. Some aren't worth mentioning though, so I don't point them out. Alright, now Stronger. The real Stronger. I prefer this song better, but this is the one that needs the higher note jump speed value. So let's take a look. And also female vocal for both of the Stronger songs. The angle's a little too awkward. Right there. Now those double directionals were pretty good ideas. In Rattlesnake they didn't make sense, but in this map they do. I like how they're switching the hand dominance in this. Oh, that was my bad. I lost my place in the stream for a second. We'll do that again. I was thinking too hard. Alright, you got me, official Beat Saber mappers. You got me. Put the wrist straps on, time to try hard. I think it made me fail out because it was making me stretch my arms. Also, reset. Now this map is fitting of Expert Plus, for sure. And could probably use 18 note jump speed as well. This is a really interesting and fun pattern. I really enjoy this. This is another big brain pattern idea that a lot of the official mappers are using. And a lot of people would not use those doubles on principle too. The downs and then the angled right next to each other, but they do work and they are the optimal placement of those patterns in that case. So I think it's a good idea to do stuff like that if it is the optimal placement. It's not like you're putting a down and then a left into it. It's not like you're doing that. So I think that's totally justified. I also like seeing stuff like that. This, bam. Just something different. That left back there, right over there, made it kind of difficult to not make my sabers clash. A little bit of redirections in these diagonals. Now this is left-handed, and see how I'm set? I can do left-handed just fine, even though I'm right-handed. I've just had tons of practice with left-handed streams. I just forced myself to practice with them. I think if more mappers did left-handed streams, people would become a lot more comfortable with them, because you're just enforcing the right-hand bias. Also, smart mapping there. The way those patterns were working earlier made sure that your top hand wasn't smacking your hand that was working in the lower row. Good map, just like Rattlesnake. Lots of cool, interesting ideas. Small nitpicks as always, but good map. Now, next we're going to do This Time. I don't remember enjoying the song when I first played it, but I think it's time for a refresher. Yeah, by the way, Expert Plus map on this 100% needs 14 note jump speed. Just want to point that out. Oh, let's not do the Expert map on this. We are doing Expert Plus today. With the exception of Overkill, we took a tiny look at Expert. I don't really... those bombs right at the beginning. I feel like that's kind of a douche move to have bombs right at the beginning, because your instinct is to raise your hand in that case, and then you have it up right after it, and the spawn distance is so close. Because it's 16, let's take a look at the BPM. Alright, 15 and 16. So the spawn distance on this is going to be about 25 meters. Kind of a douche move, in my opinion. I guess you're just supposed to ignore the bombs? Not sure why those were doubles earlier. The song is still building up. Now those doubles I understand a little bit better. Now, I think those are considered triples, triplets, whatever you want to call them. But I think those were the quote-unquote incorrect way to do triples / triplets. Oh, those are super interesting. Yeah, let's repeat that actually. Those were super interesting. Those notes, normally they would be triples, but the note was cut out right in between. It makes it harder to read as a result. But because this is Expert Plus, I think it should give a pass. I think it should get a pass solely based on that. And the reason the notes are cut out in the middle isn't just a stylistic thing, it's so you can read the notes behind it. That was kind of weird. Alright, What the Cat did that on Expert Plus, and it worked really well. This one's a lot more awkward. It totally works though, it's just awkward. I'm not saying that needs to be remapped, but it's just it should be noted that it's more awkward than What the Cat did. So remember when I said I don't remember enjoying the song? Take all of my all of my anecdotes with a grain of salt. This map is pretty solid. Yeah, these are not mapped how they should be though, because there's alternating. They were just alternating the Saber colors on all of those. They should have kept a dominant Saber to choose there. Now that was kind of a mirror of the previous course, but mixed up a lot, and I enjoyed that. Good, super good map, super good, super fun, super interesting stuff in it. I did want to go into detail just a little bit about the triples / triplets I was talking about. Basically, it was 3 notes, I believe, at 3/4 notes, and then a pause, and then 3/4 notes again. In cases like that, it's usually easier for the player if the pattern is either red, blue, red, red, blue, red, or blue, red, blue, blue, red, blue. But in that case, it was just completely alternating the whole time. It makes it feel a lot more awkward as a result. I have never finished mapping a song that used triples / triplets like that and done red, blue, red, red, blue, red. And so I couldn't exactly tell you if it would be like way better in the case of this map, but just from my knowledge of past songs that have done that red, blue, red, red, blue, red on the triples, has been a lot easier for me to comprehend. So that's my opinion on that, but still overall super good map. And now the star of the show, in my opinion, is next. Till It's Over. Before we even get into it, this map is just super good. It's the most, besides Overkill, it's the most memorable map up here. A lot of you may remember it. It was a song in a game called, I believe it was called Just Shapes and Beats. It's basically a rhythm game, 2D pancake rhythm game, where you play over songs. And so a lot of you remember it from that. I mean, and of course it's Monstercat, so, and it's Tristram as well. But this is a super good map. Let's just get into it and talk about it. One thing to note though, the beginning of this map is pretty awkward. A little bit of a vision issue there. Also, I think those doubles, those sides, and then the angle ups right then I think a couple of those blocks could have been shifted just a little bit more to make it less awkward. Let's do a little bit of a criticism on those placements. Let's go into a little bit of detail on those. Right there. All right. Slow it down. I think those could have been better. You could have done a couple things. I think that red that was right here could have been pushed over just one more. Either that or the double that was over here. I think the blue, instead of being right under the red, should have been one over out. You could have done that to go into that a little bit better, and then angled the blue over here one down as a result. Or the simplest way, you could have just made those both dots. But that's kind of the cheap way out. But just a small little critique on the note placements, because I don't think I've done a lot of that, so. Again, those are still slightly vision issues, but not huge ones. Even though the beginning of this map is a little bit awkward, it definitely redeems itself in the chorus. A little bit of redirection but not bad. Mappers should not have to baby the player at all steps, because redirecting the arms a little bit can overall lead to more motion from the player. Yeah, this right here. This is just genius, honestly. This is just like the best. And the way it's getting built on right then, it's the best. That's the most fun you will have in the song pack. I don't know which mapper was responsible for those pattern ideas, but thank you. And also these fills, how it sounds and how it's mapped, great. Just a great way to slow down the pace. Very fitting for piano too. I feel like I'm a water dancer or something right now. I feel like whoever mapped this, I could see this being like a collab map between Freak and Yazer, because I see both of them in this. Also, something that a lot of people don't do is those doubles. So usually if you do a horizontal double in this direction, the left hand's going to be on top. If you do it in this direction, the blue hand's going to be on top. But if you do them super close and back to back like just then, notice how the blue was on top and it was also on top in the other direction as well. The correct way to do that in that scenario. Maybe do that more in your own custom mapping in the future. Just another way to spice up your mapping. Another redirection. Like I said, if you don't understand, a redirection is basically when the next note doesn't exactly line up with the previous position of the note placed, and so you will have to slightly do a figure eight on your arm. But it leads to more motion from the player, so it's more of a workout. Benny's known for that a lot. He does lots of quote-unquote double directionals, but it makes his maps more of a workout as a result. Again, this is just excellent. It's really making me move. Oops, paused it during the funnest part of the song. Now, another small critique. The angles on those. I think some of them should have been angled. Yeah, that down should have 100% been an angle, a 45-degree angle instead of a straight down. Makes no sense why it's just straight down other than maybe the mapping aesthetics. Ten out of 10. The chorus is so good that it makes up for all the little awkward complaints that I have. It's just that good. It's super fun to play too. And you don't see those patterns in custom mapping because people are just so stuck in the mindset that if your map does not pass the double direction checker at 2.0, some people will even set it to like absurd values like 1,000, like, oh, I don't have a double down my map anywhere. But because of stuff like that, you don't see patterns like those ever used. Even though it worked super well, you could easily score 115 points on every single one of those. A lot of motion from movement physically and the arms. So super fun. Last song, We Won't Be Alone. This map is super fun for one reason. Not just the song itself, but I think We Won't Be Alone, the way it's mapped, makes it really good for the leaderboards. Because it's mapped in like a safe vanilla type way, but it's just spicy enough to where it's enjoyable. It's just a good song to get on the leaderboards for the BPM as well. Playing this on faster song, Disappearing Arrows. I love this intro too. This becomes a motif later, this pattern. It's just randomly thrown into the map, but it's a good thing. And actually, let's talk about that a little bit. So the pattern right there of that diagonal up into the double to the side, you're going to see that later in the map. It's thrown in seemingly randomly in parts where it shouldn't fit, but because of the tone of the song, it feels kind of like the song makes you feel kind of sentimental in the feels, you know what I mean? And because they just randomly throw that pattern in when you don't expect it, even when it doesn't really match the music, it kind of fits that tone. And it's a really weird thing to talk about, and maybe the mapper wasn't even thinking about that when they randomly threw that pattern in again. They were just thinking, oh, that was a motif from earlier, we're going to throw it in the map again. But it super works, and you'll see it later. That was weird. So you remember when I was in practice mode how the notes would spawn back there, and it actually helped me a lot? Now when I do it, they're like right in my face immediately. I think they do that because of so people don't like cheat the system. Just kind of weird to notice that. Just in my opinion, this is a super good song for the leaderboards. If you want to like get a high score on something, because you could get so like damn competitive over the accuracy in this map, especially with, you know, Ghost Notes and all that. Ghost Notes faster song. So you can just really focus on the accuracy. I think those ups earlier should have been angled up. Yeah, right there. Kind of there. It's like a neutered version of the pattern from the intro. Yep, right there again. Just a neutered version, or a changed version. Also, you don't see crouch walls lasting that long. That was super cool, just then, those walls, how they weren't directly connected and kind of spaced out. You could kind of see through them. I really like that window effect. Maybe I might do more stuff like that in my maps in the future, like in the third lane and the fourth lane, just like there's kind of spaces in between them and they're alternating. I kind of like that. It's kind of like you're passing something. That was a little bit of an awkward transition. A big issue for a lot of mappers isn't necessarily the core patterns, but how they transition between them. And angled notes help a ton with that. And I think that could have used angles to help fix that transition. Those were spooky. The right hand right here, and then there was an up, and then right after that, like that, kind of a controller smasher if you're not careful about it. But I was careful. Kind of got scarred from one of the Imagine Dragons songs, and so I self-preserve my body a lot more as a result when I play Beat Saber. And then right here again. Boom, right there. Just one thing I wanted to note. So even this is super obscure mapping technique that you don't see a lot, but there wasn't really sounds playing during a lot of those notes, either from the synth or from the singer. A lot of those notes did map up with the singer and or the synth in the background, but there was some that were just to absolutely nothing. And even though they're not really mapped to anything, any notes, any melodies, any beats, it still makes sense because it's repeating the motif that's been established from the beginning of the map. It's just playing that back. It's kind of like your mental memory is just like remembering that. It's like in your mind at that point, but it's played to nothing. It's super, super interesting technique. I've done it like maybe once in all my maps, but it works out really well in my opinion. So don't discount that technique of mapping to absolutely nothing, especially if you established a motif earlier in your map. You just don't throw it into everything, but if it makes sense, do it. Another good map with some awkward stuff in it. A lot of the mapping in this is awkward. But because they don't utilize angles a ton to fix that, a lot more casual players just getting into Expert Plus will enjoy it more just because it's easier to read. But because it's not using the angles, the 45-degree angle notes as much as the mapping from Imagine Dragons and from the Camellia songs, it flows a lot less. And so by extension, the lifespan of these songs at the competitive level is going to suffer. People won't want to play them as much because they're awkward. People are going to have to play through these maps and remember every single little awkward angle in it. You can't just necessarily jump into faster song ghost notes and play a lot of these. Some of them you can, not all of them though. So you have to play through the song normal, memorize it, every little awkward angle, and then you can jump into faster song ghost notes and play it at a competitive level. Also, I've noticed a lot of my high scores got wiped. I used to be, on We Won't Be Alone, I think I was top 20 at some point. But I'm no longer up there. Not sure why. Anyway, overall, super, super good. Not nearly as impressive as Imagine Dragons. But people do seem to enjoy this update a lot. A lot of people did enjoy the mapping and the songs. People actually overall prefer Monstercat much more than Imagine Dragons, even though Imagine Dragons has across the board better mapping. People seem to hate Imagine Dragons. They just despise them for whatever reason. It's a phenomenon when something gets super popular. People hate something. And it's usually because the more something is, the bigger chance that somebody that they dislike will also like the thing because it's popular. And that's why I think people hate popular stuff. Anyway, super good mapping. One last thing I want to talk about. There were more mappers involved with the Monstercat than with Imagine Dragons. 3 mappers I know absolutely were involved on this were, of course, Great Yazer and Freak, who are still currently employed by Beat Games. Also, Rustic. I don't think Benny helped with this. I don't think Perforus helped with this. I think Perforus only mapped like 1 or 2 things. I know he did Angel Voices. Let's take a look at the credits to make sure I'm not missing any names. Ooh, what's that? Yeah. Get excited. Also, if you've never checked the credits, there's a exclusive song here. Yeah, there's Freak, Benny, Perforus, Miroslav. Is that split? Great Yazer and Rustic. Don't get upset at me, but I think Miroslav is split. Don't tell him that I forgot his real name. Anyway, yeah, I don't think Benny was involved in that. I think it was just 3 mappers: Rustic, Great Yazer, and Freak. But overall, good map pack. Worth your money, 100%. Till It's Over is the star of the show, just for that super fun chorus. You could get competitive in this song too, faster song ghost notes. But I just enjoy playing it at regular Expert Plus. We Won't Be Alone, super fun to play at faster song ghost notes. I really enjoy that map in particular with those settings turned on. Because I feel like ghost notes in particular can make some songs feel unfair, especially if the spawning distance is unfair. Like for Overkill, Overkill would be a super annoying song to play with ghost notes, but We Won't Be Alone would be super fun. Really good, just the expert mapping. If you're an expert player, you may not enjoy playing expert. A lot of expert players, like people who play expert on Imagine Dragons or with Camellia songs, you just go to Expert Plus for all of these. Every single one. It's just expert suffers a lot overall. It's not every map actually, but Boundless, Epic, Emoji VIP to a lesser extent. The experts are just Overkill as well. Expert. But yeah, that's about it. Good map pack, worth your money. Lots of fun, interesting stuff in it. But this was earlier than the previous two updates. We explored Imagine Dragons and Camellia, and I feel like the mappers were still learning at this point. And because they were still learning, it's not nearly as polished as what we see today. Not as great as those map packs in terms of mapping patterns, but still overall good, worth your money. Lots of interesting songs. Best variety of music overall, except for Epic, which I just believe was a poor choice to map in this game. I think that with as big as Monstercat's label is and how much music they have, a better song could have been picked. But yeah, thanks for watching. Have a good day.